All right, you're just waking up. Thank you so much for joining us here on K24 New Dawn. My name is Brian Amwai, ready to bring you up to speed with what you're waking up to and also have a conversation later on about the state of the nation. There's quite a number of issues happening in the country, from the political front all the way to the legislation to the corridors of justice. A lot is happening, from issues to do with the NGCDF, which came from the corridors of justice, now in the House, with members of the National Assembly not having any of it when it comes to that particular ruling that was issued by a three-judge bench, declaring the NGCDF unconstitutional. They've had quite a number of issues to discuss and to say about the conduct of the judges and why this particular ruling was arrived at. They're saying the judges and the litigators, rather, don't have the best interest of the public at heart, and also that they are not in touch with the reality on the ground, considering the fact that the NGCDF has helped a lot of people. That's people that need to go to school, and also when it comes to development at the community level, especially in schools in rural areas and also urban centers. Also, this morning, we'll be taking a look at what is happening as far as the Adani deal is concerned. We have a government that is eager to make its case, fight for this particular deal with a company that has a lot on its back when it comes to integrity issues. Why are they fighting for it so much? Well, the National Assembly yesterday, that is the committee in the National Assembly, did declare and say that it has halted the process until a report is tabled, and went ahead to instruct the controller, that is the Auditor General, to do a special audit on this particular deal and table that report by the end of October, instructing the KAA to not do anything as far as this deal is concerned. Also, we have a head of state that seems to have come to a Damascus moment as far as his stance on the issue to do with the Ford Foundation is concerned. President William Ruto on the 15th of July did say that the Ford Foundation was sponsoring anarchy in the country, calling them out and saying if they do not toe the line, then they are going to be chased out of the country. Well, yesterday, he did have a sitting with the president of the Ford Foundation and said he congratulates them for, sponsoring not chaos, but the democratic process in the country and being champions of democracy, especially in Kenya, and supporting the country in its agendas. All right, we'll be getting into the details of that, just trying to make sense of the state of the nation this particular morning. Welcome to the program. Engage us on our socials at K24, across social media platforms. At Amoy Brian, that is on X. Tell us exactly where you're watching us from and what you think about the stories that we'll be running today, and also the conversation that we'll be having later on. But first, let me bring you up to speed with the latest news. Now, the High Court has declared the Privatization Act of 2023 unconstitutional, citing lack of meaningful public participation in its enactment. The ruling by Justice Chacha Mwita has effectively slammed brakes on the government's move to dispose some public assets, among them the Kenya International Convention Center and other parastatals. Opposition party ODM, now an ally of the government, had moved to court to challenge the act that also proposed the renaming of the Privatization Commission to Privatization Authority. Timothy Simwa has the details of this particular story.
Yet again, the government has been dealt a blow by a High Court ruling that has nullified the Privatization Act of 2023. Justice Chacha Mwita ruled the enactment process of the October 2023 Act ignored public participation, a key requirement of the law in matters of public interest.
The National Assembly failed to discharge its constitutional obligation to conduct public participation that met both quantitative and qualitative threshold. The 6 memoranda received, coupled with a few handpicked stakeholders, could not effectively represent the views of the people as required by Article 10 and 18 of the Constitution for purposes of enacting the legislation.
The petitioner in the case, ODM party, now an ally of President Ruto's broad-based government, had argued that public assets like the Kenyatta International Convention Center is an emblem of the country's cultural and strategic importance and should not be disposed of at the whims of the executive.
The government has an obligation to conserve and protect this heritage through the National Museum of Kenya on behalf of the people. Its purported privatization is a violation of Article 11, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution, read with the Monuments and Heritage Act.
Through their lawyer Jackson Awele, ODM told the court that such an endeavor should involve Kenyans through a referendum. According to Justice Mwita, the act violated the oversight role of the National Assembly, and the iconic KICC is a national monument. Simply put, handing KICC into private hands goes against Article 11, Section 2 of the Constitution and the National Museums and Heritage Act.
A declaration is hereby issued that the National Assembly did not conduct reasonable, meaningful, adequate, and effective public participation before passing the Privatization Act 2023. The entire Privatization Act 2023 is therefore unconstitutional, null, and void. 2. A declaration is hereby issued that Section 22, Subsection 5 of the Privatization Act is inconsistent with the Constitution and is unconstitutional, null, and void. 3. A declaration is hereby issued that the decision to privatize Kenyatta International Conference Center or Kenyatta International Convention Center, a national monument, contravenes Article 10, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution, read with the provisions of the Monuments and Heritage Act, and is therefore unconstitutional, unlawful, and void.
Other state corporations that were lined up for privatization included the Kenya Cooperative Creameries New KCC, the National Oil Corporation of Kenya, Mwea Rice Mills Limited, Kenya Literature Bureau, Kenya Pipeline Company, Kenya Seed Company, Moi University-owned Rivertex East Africa Limited, among others. Timothy Simwa, K24 TV.
Right, thank you, Tim, for that particular report. Away from that, a bitter confrontation was witnessed between activists and police officers at the Harambee House gate after the boys in blue attempted to arrest activists who had gone to present the names of the people killed and those who went missing during the Gen Z demos. This comes after President William Ruto said he is yet to receive names of persons who were abducted or disappeared since the beginning of the anti-government demos. And as Majibu Kisau now reports, the government has been given a 7-day ultimatum to shed light on the same, or Kenyans will return to the streets.
The peaceful march, dubbed Justice for Gen Z Mashujaz, aimed to present a list of protesters allegedly abducted during recent anti-government demonstrations, particularly those associated with the Gen Z movement. Drama started when police officers tried to bar the activists from accessing the Harambee House gate, with masked police officers trying to arrest the activists and families of victims of killings and forced disappearances during the Gen Z demos.
Police from, I don't know, the killer cops that we've been seeing all along, masked, came here and tried to arrest some of our colleagues.
Every day we've been arrested, we've been abducted, we've been murdered. If you're unable to uphold the Constitution, if you're unable to lead this country through rule of law, we're asking for you to resign. It's not a must to lead us.
The march was occasioned by remarks made by President Ruto that he was yet to receive names of people abducted during the protests.
I want to know the names because I will take firm and decisive action. Because as I talk to you today, I don't have a single name of somebody who has been abducted or disappeared.
The list was later presented to Principal Administrative Secretary in the Executive Office of the President, Arthur Osia, with whom they had secured an appointment. Months after the Gen Z protests ended, families across the country continue to grapple with the disappearances of their kin as the government remains mum on the matter.
Alikuwa hapo kwa maandamano alafu kuarestiwa akadisappear hivyo. Since then tumepata news that ako industry area In Australia walishikwa na mtu mwenye alitoka akatupatia news bado ako huko.
Mtoto wangu alienda tu hivyo tu. Na wakati mtoto alienda kutoka hiyo wakati huyu mtoto wake brother yake anakuaga analia kila siku akisema mtoto wao alienda na hiyo.
The government has now been given a 7-day ultimatum to give a report on the compensation of families who lost their loved ones and issue a comprehensive report on the whereabouts of those abducted allegedly by police officers.
And we have agreed that within 7 days we will be back here. We will be back here to follow up, to know what action has been taken.
You cannot kill us and lead us. You cannot do that. Kama umeshindwa na kazi, enda nyumbani.
Majibu Kitsao for K24 TV, Nairobi.
All right, a new demand of impeaching Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has now been put forth that it must also rope in President William Ruto, since the duo were elected together and as the head of state. He is being accused of violation of the Constitution and disobedience of court orders. At the same time, the calls for Gachagua to have resigned have been dismissed, even as Mungatana's censure motion was termed as a diversionary tactic for Kenyans to forget scrutinizing government deals. Joel Chacha now reports.
Builds on Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's impeachment. A new demand that President William Ruto also suffers the same fate has been brought to the table.
Voted the duo. So if we have to do any impeachment, let it be for the duo.
The alleged sins that Gachagua have committed pale in comparison to the sins of William Ruto. That if you wanted to move a motion, you should have moved a motion on the two of them, both Ruto and Gachagua. They are Siamese twins.
Calls for Gachagua to resign to avert an impeachment process that could kill his political career has been dismissed.
The problem is not between Deputy President and the President. The problem is between power brokers that are around the President. And I must say it as it is. Those are the people you see. They're working very hard to make sure that the Deputy President is annoyed. They are rattling the Deputy President every day, including not telling him where the President is going.
The censure motion filed by Tana River Senator Danson Mungatana has also been countered as a gimmick that seeks to divert Kenya's attention from the scrutiny of Adani deals.
Now, if he doesn't approve it, now that motion, we will have to keep on pushing until he approves it.
Any censure motion is an indicator of a kipidi. It's a confirmation that this is kipidi. You are now testing the waters, and how can we keep this debate running for long? Hii kipidi jamani. Let us focus on the number of kids who have been abducted and killed in this country. Na wazazi wanalia.
Githunguri Member of Parliament Gathoni wa Mujomba has to this end hinted that a political party is being crafted to save Gachagua from being at the mercies of the Ruto-led UDA party.
In as much as we wanted the duo to be to bear the presidency title, we goofed. We made a mistake. We should have, formed our own entity as Mount Kenya region, just like other regions have their own party. We have learned as a region, and next time, Mount Kenya region, we must package ourselves first before we negotiate with anybody else.
Joel Chacha, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Now, Kitutu Church's South Legislator Anthony Kibagende is calling on Kenyans to intervene and halt the launch of the Social Health Insurance Fund under the current supplier of the system. Kibagende says Parliament's committee in charge of health has totally been ignored in the deal, and only Kenyans can put a stop to what he terms as a fraudulent transaction. David Kagina now reports.
Church's South Member of Parliament and a member of the Health Committee of the National Assembly, Anthony Kibagende, has called on Kenyans to step in and aid in opposing the launch of the social health insurance, which is set for launch on Tuesday, October 1st, 2024.
Committee members have been trying to find out how and why we are moving from NHIF to Social Health Authority. We have consistently been given ambiguous answers.
According to Kibagende, the procurement of the system is shrouded in secrecy under single sourcing. The system, he says, could have been sourced locally, and the companies involved have never supplied a system of a similar magnitude anywhere in the world.
They are rushing to launch this thing on Tuesday so that this contract can come into effect before Kenyans can actually scrutinize it.
The legislator further claims the system is set to cost the taxpayers 104 billion shillings.
Even the most sophisticated military systems in the world don't cost the amount we are looking at. So we go on to ask, did the Office of the Attorney General give clearance for the execution of this contract?
Kibagendi claims Parliament's Health Oversight Committee has not been provided with any evidence of public participation ahead of the transition from the National Health Insurance Fund to the Social Health Insurance Fund, and the Ministry of Health has been giving them a cold shoulder.
We are calling on Kenyans once more, like you did in June. Please step up and push this government from implementing this fraudulent social health authority on Tuesday. They'll be taking our money from our payslips and you will not be getting the services.
The committee has to this end summoned the health CS to appear before it on Monday ahead of the launch on Tuesday.
Why is the ministry hiding this information from the public? Even you didn't get it from the ministry. The ministry is supposed to provide this to the committee, to the health committee that has requested for this for the past 5 months.
David Kagina, K24, Nairobi.
Now, the Kenya Airports Director General has been directed not to have any further engagements on the JKIA Adani deal until an audit on the takeover deal is completed. And as Ian Ketani now files, the National Assembly's Public Investment Committee has raised pertinent questions regarding Adani's presence in the country, raising concerns on the company's presence in key sectors in the country.
Manages public debt.
As questions continue to be raised regarding the Adani JKIA deal, with National Treasury CS John Mbadi and his transport counterpart Davis Chirchir being at pains trying to justify the pact before the Senate Committee on Transport in recent weeks, the National Assembly's Public Investment Committee has to this end ordered an audit into how Adani was selected for the facelift project and as to whether the privately initiated proposal was the suitable procurement method.
That because we are going to order for a special audit, that you don't do anything with Adani until this committee presents a report to Parliament. If you do it, it's up to you.
The committee, led by Pokot South MP David Kosen, was skeptical over Adani Airport Holdings' proposal to run operations of the strategic facility, terming it as mortgaging the country.
How did we procure this guy? And then in 2024, this contract of this person never lapsed because you bring him back to come and do further studies in preparation for Adani to come in. Chair, he is running away from the real issues.
While slamming the Kenya Airport Authority over what he termed as taking directives from the Indian firm, Kosin cautioned the authority over engaging in further talks until the committee submits a report on the deal before the National Assembly.
If you indulge anything at MD, you will carry your personal responsibility. And the committee is endeavoring to submit this special report by end of October to Parliament, so that then Parliament can make informed decision. And I agree with
this comes even as Treasury CS John Mbadi admitted that indeed the approval of the Adani proposal was rushed, with the proposal approved for the next stage on the same day it was presented.
The bit that I find a bit very fast is, Adani submitted their proposal in March. I guess March 1st. Then KAA cleared it on 1st. And it went to the Line State Department of Transport on 1st. That, to me, is a serious high-level efficiency of the guys who cannot make profit. Actually, payment on 8th may not be a problem because actually they should even submit that payment with the proposal. But that speed was too fast. I think that could be left for KAA and the line ministry, because I also engaged my team and asked, hey, this speed looked very fast.
Ian Ketani, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Now, President William Ruto has made a U-turn on his stand regarding the Ford Foundation, the NGO he had accused of funding the Gen Z protests in the country. In a statement posted on his X account on Tuesday, President Ruto praised Ford Foundation's commitment to safeguarding Kenya's democracy.
Mimi nataka niulize watu wa Ford Foundation watuambie hiyo pesa wanatoa ifanye fujo ndio wapate faida gani?
This was President William Ruto's speech back in July this year at the height of the Gen Z protest that were pushing for reforms in the country. 2 months later, the head of state seems to have changed tune on the Ford Foundation, an non-governmental organization based in the United States that he blamed for sponsoring the Gen Z protests in the country. Now, President William Ruto is showering praises to the foundation for its contribution to the growth of the Kenyan democracy. Posting on social media after he held talks with the president of the Ford Foundation, Darren Walker, in New York, Ruto said the foundation is committed to the democratic process in Kenya, saying the country appreciates this commitment. The post reads, and I quote, "Kenya appreciates the Ford Foundation's commitment to safeguarding our democracy and supporting Kenya's calls for reforms in the global economic institutions, climate action, and modern technology regulation." 2 months ago, the head of state called out the foundation, accusing them of undermining Kenya's democracy. Ruto emphasized that his government will not tolerate any form of anarchy and called on the foundation to clarify its role in the protests. He further urged those behind the unrest to step forward and present their alternative views instead of remaining anonymous.
We have no use for anarchy and violence and destruction of property and loss of life. If they are going to sponsor violence, if they are going to sponsor anarchy, we are going to call them out and we are going to tell them they either style up or they leave. Despite Ruto's allegations, the Ford Foundation denied any involvement in sponsoring protests, asserting its commitment to human rights and social justice initiatives.
The person who writes the speeches, the president, should be fired with immediate effect. Because the president here in Kenya said the Ford Foundation ndio walikuwa wanamwaga pesa mbaya ya watoto wetu kwenda kwa mabarabara. He blamed on the Ford Foundation on the protests. Saa hii tumemuona amekaa vizuri sana huko New York na president wa Ford Foundation. Sasa niambie, hata kama unataka kumwamini rais, unaweza muamini?
This, however, is not the first time President Ruto has gone back on his word. The head of state had also vowed not to work with former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. However, the two came together to form what we are now calling the broad-based government. Brian Amoai, K24, Nairobi. Kericho Governor's fate is now hanging by the thread. This is after members of the County Assembly tabled a notice for an impeachment motion against him. Now, the notice of motion was tabled by Sigowet MCA Kiprotich Regoni, who is seeking the 47-ward representative support in the impeachment of Mutai for alleged gross violation of the Constitution. Now, various national and county laws, abuse of office and gross misconduct. Now, Speaker of the County Assembly, Patrick Mutai Cheruiyot, said the governor will have 7 days to appear at the National Assembly to defend himself against the accusations leveled against him.
2 years tenure, Kericho County Governor Eric Mutai has been, among other issues, accused of overseeing leakage in revenue collection by failing to implement automation of revenue collection systems.
The County Assembly to move the motion for the impeachment of His Excellency Honorable Eric Mutai, the Governor of Kericho County, for number 1, gross violation of the Constitution, number 2, gross violation of various national and county laws, number 3.
Sigowet MCA Kiprotich Rogony, the mover of the motion, has directly linked the loss of county on-source revenue to Governor Mutai's alleged opulence.
There is a nexus between the disappearance and or the loss of county revenue and the governor's opulent lifestyles since he was elected. Indeed, within 2 years since his election, the governor's wealth has grown exponentially, so much so that he can now afford to contribute up to Kenya shillings 1 million in a single Harambee.
According to the tabled motion, the Kericho governor contravened the constitution by launching the Equalizer Kazi Mtaani, a program for youth employment, and rolled out funds without legislation to anchor on and without public participation. Further, the governor has been faulted for allegedly overseeing the misappropriation of funds meant for the 52 victims of the June 30th, 2023 Londiani Road accident.
So this motion, I confirm to this House that it's true, that we have the exhibits as well as the flash discs and the compact disc here with us. His Excellency the Governor, Dr. Eric Kipkoech Mutai, will appear before this House on 2nd October 2024.
The fate of Kericho County Governor now hangs in the balance, with members of the County Assembly expected to vote on a motion to impeach him in 7 days. Rehab Kinuthia, K24 TV.
Right, that is as far as the news are concerned this particular morning. You're now up to speed as we continue updating you on what will be developing during the day in our subsequent bulletins. That is all the way from Chipuko to 9 p.m. tonight. Now, I want to take a break so that when we come back, we take a little bit of, we take a look at what's happening on the newspapers and also have a conversation this morning on the state of the nation. There's quite a lot of issues happening in this particular country. We'll not be able to touch all of them, but we'll attempt to touch the most crucial ones. Of course, I'll be speaking to Honorable Raphael Chimera, who is nominated senator, and also Honorable Dr. Daniel Manduku, who is the Member of Parliament, Nyaribari Masaba. Due to unavoidable circumstances, we'll not be having John Waluke, MP series here. Of course, so grab your cup of coffee or tea, and let's meet on the other side of this break.